This episode of The Young Turks is brought to you by GoDaddy.com. If you go to theyoungturks.com/GoDaddy, you get the best promo codes in the world.
Yesterday, President Obama does his round of cuts, which he unveiled, which, by the way, equal about $1.1 trillion over 10 years, right? So this, today, and yesterday on the program, we showed you, the Republicans came out and said, Obama just did not show leadership. And there was about 12 quotes where he ran for you. He punted. There was no leadership. We were looking for leadership out of Obama, and I deciphered what that meant on the show yesterday. And it meant, no, there's cuts in the spending. Who cares? What we want you to cut is what they call entitlement spending, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. They're like, you promised us that you would do exactly what we told you to do and cut entitlement spending, and you didn't do it, right? So they've been yelling at him over that. So he does a press conference today, and President Obama comes out and starts talking about those issues. Oh, boy.
You've been talking a lot about the need for tough choices in your budget, but your plan does not address the long-term crushing costs of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the real drivers of long-term debt. Mm-hmm. Can you explain that? Where is your leadership on that issue? When are we going to see your plan?
Mm-hmm. So what we've done is we've taken a scalpel to the discretionary budget rather than a machete. Now, I said in the State of the Union, and I'll repeat, that side of the ledger only accounts for about 12% of our budget. So we've got a whole bunch of other stuff that we're going to have to do, including dealing with entitlements. Now, you talked about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. The truth is Social Security is not the huge contributor to the deficit that the other two entitlements are. I'm confident we can get Social Security done in the same way that Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill were able to get it done, by parties coming together, making some modest adjustments. I think we can avoid slashing benefits, and I think we can make it stable and stronger for not only this generation, but for the next generation. Medicare and Medicaid are huge problems because health care costs are rising even as the population is getting older. And so what I've said is that I'm prepared to work with Democrats and Republicans to start dealing with that in a serious way.
All right, let me decipher that for you. First of all, the reporter has got his question direct from Republican headquarters saying, are you going to show leadership on entitlements? First of all, they call them entitlements. I've said it a million times. I'll say it again because they might want to make it seem like, these people think they're entitled. Yes, they are. They paid into Social Security and Medicare. They need to get that money back. That's why they're entitled. But, of course, exact Republican framing in that question, and then saying, Obama, you're going to show leadership? You better cut him. You better cut him. And, of course, President Obama perfectly willing to oblige. Now, he said there that, he's not willing to slash Social Security. Please, I hope you've been watching this program long enough to understand what that means. And he says, I'm not willing to slash Social Security. Now, if you're just talking about cutting Social Security to strengthen it, well, that's something different entirely. After the press conference, Tim Geithner comes out, says the same exact things. We're not going to slash. We're just going to make it stronger by making some compromises. Obviously, in order to be realistic, some things have to be done to the program. Here's what they're not going to do. They're not going to add to the program. They're going to cut from the program. That's what needs to be done, according to Tim Geithner, Barack Obama, and the Republicans. And then he goes on to say, it's not a huge contributor to the deficit. Again, it seems like he's saying, Social Security. No, Social Security is not a contributor to the deficit at all. It's completely separate. You pay into it, you get the money back. Has nothing to do with the rest of the deficit. Framing it like that is framing it like a Republican. And, by the way, not just misleading, it's wrong. It's flat out wrong. And then he says, we're going to do, like with Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, they made a deal. This is Obama saying what I was afraid he was going to say. Yeah, I'm totally open to a deal. If the Republicans take the first step and they say, we'll cut those entitlements, he's going to cut off. That statement right there said, I am open for business, okay? You tell me what you want to cut, and we'll call it a grand compromise. How many of those compromises have you seen so far? We'll call it a grand compromise like Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan did. But Social Security has a $2.5 trillion surplus. They don't have to cut a damn thing. What they're doing is they're taking it from the Social Security surplus and using it for the rest of the budget. Now, why do they need it for the rest of the budget? Because they just gave away $858 billion in tax cuts, $407 billion of which went to the top 2%. That's why they need to raid your Social Security. Now, I know there's a lot of Obama supporters who don't believe me and who look at that and go, oh, no, Cenk. I heard that he was going to protect Social Security in that speech. Fantastic. Let's see how that turns out for you. I could be wrong. And as I say all the time, I hope I'm wrong, right? But that right there was, in my mind, unmistakable. If you know politics, that was Obama saying, oh, yeah, I will cut those benefits as long as we get the right deal from the Republicans. Iceberg, straight ahead. And let me tell you something. Before, I was excited. I thought this is the one thing that they might not be able to do. Now I think they can do it. I mean, I hate to tell you that, right? Like, and I even went back after this and looked at Harry Reid's statement, because you have to look at the statements really carefully. These guys are all lawyers, right? So they don't tell you and they're politicians. They're not going to tell you what they're going to do. They're going to walk around it, right? And by the way, I didn't get this. You think I was skeptical about Obama? No, I worked my ass off to tell people that Obama was a better candidate than McCain and a better candidate than Hillary Clinton, right? We did a program and we showed it, and I thought he was, right? And I still believe, of course, he was better than McCain. Hillary Clinton at this point, I think, is an open question. But anyway, so I wasn't skeptical to him. He earned my skepticism. So this is exactly what he used to say about the public option. Oh, we support the public option. Is it essential? Well, they're not necessarily essential, no. There are a lot of different things we could do, but we support it. And the suckers that are Obama supporters were like, oh, no, Cenk, you're being totally unfair. He said he was supporting the public option. Yeah? How'd that turn out for you? He wasn't supporting it at all, was he? No. And we found out behind the scenes he was actively trying to kill it. Remember, at the end, all they needed was 50 votes. And they had 50 votes. They didn't even bring it up for a vote because Obama didn't want it to go up for a vote. Your Social Security is in serious danger because he's going to come in and he's going to make it pretty. Tip O'Neill, Ronald Reagan, compromise, strengthening. No, we're not cutting Social Security. We're strengthening Social Security for later.
The key thing that I think the American people want to see is that all sides are serious about it and all sides are willing to give a little bit, and that there's a genuine spirit of compromise as opposed to people being interested in scoring political points. Now, we did that in December during the lame duck on the tax cut issue. Both sides had to give. And there were folks in my party who were not happy, and there were folks in the Republican Party who were not happy. And my suspicion is that we're going to be able to do the same thing if we have that same attitude with respect to entitlements. But the thing I want to emphasize is nobody's more mindful than me that entitlements are going to be a key part of this issue, as is tax reform.
Social Security as we knew it. It was nice knowing you. Gonzo. Okay, they're not going to dismantle the whole thing, but are they going to raise your retirement age? Very likely. Are they going to in some way cut your Social Security? Well, it's just not likely. It's overwhelmingly likely. I mean, there'd have to be some force of nature that stopped it. Did you just hear that guy? He said, we got to do a compromise, just like we did with the tax cut deal. That tax cut deal where the rich got richer and the poor got poorer. Again, we had David K. Johnston on the show, brilliant writer on tax issues. He noticed what nobody else did. In that tax cut deal, did you know this? The poor actually wound up getting a tax increase. The 20% of the poorest people in America, right? They actually have to pay more taxes rather than less taxes because of the tax cut deal that Obama and the Republicans agreed upon. Yeah, they keep agreeing in Washington about how the poor and the middle class have to pay more and the rich have to pay less. So will they reach that kind of compromise on Social Security? You can bet your bottom dollar. In fact, you already have. You just didn't know it.
Cenk, if you want to buy a domain name, you want to know the best website to go to?
I already know it. GoDaddy.com.
First of all, they have 24/7 customer service.
If you want to download GoDaddy's free iPhone, Android, or BlackBerry app, boom, on your phone instantly. And if you go to theyoungturks.com/GoDaddy, you get all of our promo codes, like TYT1 gets you 10% off of all your orders.
TYT3 gets you a .com domain for only $7.99.
You can't beat that.